welcome to another episode of the Reentry Journey. This is actually a special episode of the Reentry Journey because it's mixed with Second Chance Session podcast. Y'all know that's going to be the new podcast that I'm going to be bringing to you all. But before we even get into that, this is a special episode. I know y'all looking like, man, this is the first time we've seen you actually in a studio. I'm going to tell you why. Because usually on my podcast, y'all see, you know what I'm saying, it's virtual, we split screening. But today we live in the flesh, man. And we shooting at this place that I seen on Instagram. It's new. And yeah, I'm in Walmart. Just for y'all to understand, I am in Walmart. So where we at today, we are in Franklin, Tennessee at Walmart. They have the first ever creative studio inside of Walmart, man. They walked us through it. They gave us the game. They got 6 podcast room in here. You can do many things. You're a rapper. You can come in here, make you some music, record you, get that real authentic quality podcast, and they got everything you need, man. So if you get a chance to visit Franklin, Tennessee, or if you're in the area, this is a must-see place, man, because this is amazing. I never thought I'd see this, but I can't wait till they get this type of thing in our Walmart at the crib, because I definitely going to be in there. I'm going to come up with something. Y'all know me. But we are here today because how we ended up in this place is because we on the tour. And my guest today, I don't really call him my guest, it's kind of my partner. But he been on the podcast before. You heard his episode, but we doubling it back because this week we've been on the tour. We've been hitting prisons all in Mississippi, Tennessee. We about to head up to Kentucky, you know. And what we're here to talk about today is just his feelings, his view on him getting out of prison and being able to come back and go into prisons for the first time. What's that like for him? What's the experience and how's he feeling? You know, so let's just get into it. Our guest is Mr. Donald Hinton from Property to Real Estate. And if you don't recall his story, go back and check out the podcast. I think it's like episode 88, 87. His story's on there, but just to give you a brief thing about his story is my man saved up money while he was in prison. He was doing his thing. When he got out, he had some money. And within 4 months, he got his first property. Here we are 2 years later. He got 15. So, you know, that's a strong message. And a lot of guys on the inside want to get in real estate. This is the guy for you to break it down. So let's welcome to the Second Chance Session, Reentry Journey Podcast, Tour Wrap-Up, whatever you want to call this episode. Donald Hinton, man, what's going on with you, man?
Man, that's amazing, man. Hey, if y'all see me looking over here, it's because people is literally walking in and out of Walmart. Like, we right here at the gates of Walmart, you know, so I keep looking over there, and it's distracting, but, you know, it ain't my office, so it's a little bit different. But, yeah, this is an amazing feeling.
We want to also give a shout-out to Future Bean. You know what I'm saying? That's what you see on our cups, and you might see the logo. So shout-out to Future Bean, who, or you say they partner up with Creative Studio. They partners.
Yeah.
So, you know, just to give the people that's tuning in that may not seen the first episode with you in it or heard your story, go ahead and tell the people about your story, about yourself.
So, a little bit about me. I did 8 years in the feds. While I was in there, I was the store man, so I was selling honey buns and sodas, working at Unicor, saving all of my money. When I got out, I knew I had to change my situation. I knew I had to change my environment, so I moved to a city where I didn't know nobody. I moved to Davenport, Iowa, and only person I knew was my landlord. So I asked my landlord if he had a property he wanted to sell, and he ended up selling me a duplex. With all of the money I had saved, it was like $10,000. Bought a duplex, the tenant paid the mortgage, I lived for free. That helped me save more money. Over time, I bought 14 more properties. So now I got a total of 15 units and teaching people how to do it with my book, From Prison to Properties. And now me and you on the tour, going inside, teaching them about it.
And so this is your first time going back inside after getting out of prison, man. How does that feel?
It's surreal because I was just in there. I was just in there, and now I'm back in there, but with a message that's going to change people's life.
So the guys on the inside, man, we went out to Mississippi. When you first walked back through those gates, knowing that, dang, man, I just got out of prison, I'm about to go back in.
Mm-hmm.
Describe that feeling.
Excitement, nervousness, it was just like they opening them doors for me, but I ain't gonna stunt. Like for a minute there, I got emotional because I'm about to leave and they got to stay. But it's like, dang, if they only knew the stuff that I knew. Like it's like it's kind of like, you know how you know something and you want everybody to know it, but it's just not, that message just ain't for everybody. It was like that because they opening them doors. I'm about to go in there and get a phenomenal message, but everybody not going to receive it. So it was just like a little bit emotional and surreal, man. I couldn't believe it.
Right. And what stood out to you the most?
It was just like the willingness of the organization that brought us in. Like you don't think that the police want you to succeed. That's right. The feeling you get while you in prison. You think that all COs and all of this stuff just want you up in there, don't want you to come back, but it ain't really like that. It's really like some of them. It's just you can't put that badge on all of them. Like all of them don't want you up in prison. All of them don't think you a piece of trash, but it's some of them that do. So it's like seeing the people that brought us in there. It was like they really do care.
Right. And speaking of the people, shout out to Core Civic. You know, they open the doors for us. They've been great partners. They treat us well. Shout out to our man Rodney who had us over his house for dinner last night, the barbecue. I do want to say to the guy that we stayed at the Airbnb in Tennessee who sent us the rendezvous. I kept telling him I'm from Kansas City area. We got the best barbecue. Since we was in Memphis, we know we always compete with Memphis about the barbecue. But he sent us to this place. He called my phone and highly recommended this place. It wasn't hitting on nothing, man.
Went out there, spent all our money on this stuff. Dry barbecue.
So to the Airbnb owner, I got your number. I'm going to send you a text message. I already hit you once. But I'm going to make sure you got it. Don't do that again. Nice property, but don't send us there again. Don't send us. So what is your, you spoke on, you know, the being welcome through the facility. You know, how much of an eye opener was it for you to see that the same words that we be talking is what the facilitators and the educators and a lot of the program coordinators inside the prison, when we talk to them, they be trying to preach the same message, but the guys really don't listen to them.
It's crazy because, some of those COs do be trying to tell you the right thing, but it don't hit the same because they're not coming from somebody that been there. You know, me and you been there. So right. By us going in there talking to these inmates and these guys, these men, they like, dang, he was me. I can relate to him. Like one of the guys was like, man, your story touched me to the bone because my daddy right down the hill. You know, like I did time in the same prison that my dad did time in. And that's what really broke me down because I didn't want my son to go through that. This man in the audience, he like, man, my daddy right down the hill. They in the same prison at the same time. So your message hit different whenever it's coming from somebody that look like you, talk like you been where you at.
Right. And and pointing that out, the dude saying his daddy was right down the hill, that speaks a lot of value because my father went to prison, your father went to prison, I went to prison, you went to prison. You know, luckily enough for you, you wasn't like me, like one time was enough for you.
Mm-hmm.
It took me 5 times. You know, I can laugh at it now, but, you know, we understand the generational cycles that can occur.
Mm-hmm.
You stopping yours. I didn't get the chance to stop mine with my son. I got an older son that's locked up as well, right? So now I got a parent that's incarcerated. I was incarcerated now, and I'm a parent of someone incarcerated, right?
Mm-hmm.
What is the importance of making sure we stop them generational cycles?
It's important. It's very important that they see something that they can aspire to be. I didn't see that, so I didn't know. I gravitated towards the best thing I saw, which was the rappers. So by your youngest kids seeing you doing it. So one of the quotes I got is, "The life you live is the legacy that you leave." the people seeing you, they seeing this, right? So that's the importance of it. They got to see it in order for them to be it. So they got to see you doing good in order for them to do good. If they see you smoking weed out there, drinking, kicking it, that's all they seeing. That's all they're going to be able to do. So if you going around the country touring, trying to help people, that's what they're going to see. They're going to see you in a positive light. So it's important for them to see you.
Oh, yeah, most definitely. What was one of the most touching stories that you heard while you was on the inside? Some of the guys coming and talking up to you afterwards, sharing their story with you, or their time with you and stuff like that. What's one of the most what's one of the things that you heard this week from the guys?
Basically, it was the dude that said his daddy down the hill.
Right.
That was the most touching because I can relate. I seen it in my pod. Like, right. Dude and his daddy was in the same. And we in the prison, so this ain't no county jail. We in the prison. Him and his daddy in the same prison together. And by the looks of it, it's no respect for the dad, right? Mm-hmm. I don't know their situation, but dude don't call him dad. He call him by his real name, and the dad talking about the son, the one that got him booked because he want to go out and buy a luxury car. I'm like, this a broken mindset. This is a terrible situation. They from Tennessee too.
I think for me it was yesterday. The old guy that had 35 years.
Okay.
Did you notice yesterday he was telling us how much time he did, but he never said when he was going home?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Never said when he was going home. So to me, most likely he's in there for the rest of his life. But look at his attitude, right? He had a great attitude. Look at the job he's doing. You could tell that the staff love him, right? So with the staff love him, that means he must be doing something, geared towards positivity, geared towards bettering himself. He's taking the program. 35 years, he probably really don't know how to work the tablets, and they just got the tablets. Yeah. But he knows what's on them tablets, though. Yeah. So that was my story. But the story that he told about the other guy who did 32 years, who got the break, got released, and then came right back after 32 years. Went out there and basically did the same thing over and over that he got sent into prison. Reason why that touched me because it reminded me of sometimes we overlook a lot of blessings when we get blessed, right? So you got to look at this guy did 32 years. He got sentenced wrongly. He's supposed to be sentenced to where he's supposed to do 100% of his time, but his plea that he took, he only had to do 30%, which broke the Tennessee law.
Okay. So
the courts admitted they broke the law, and they gave him time served.
Yeah.
And he got released, time served after 32 years. The guy we was talking to who did 35 years, he asked him before he got released, man, you got your break, man? You got everything together? And the dude said, oh, man, I ain't worried about it. I'm going to handle it. And then he get out and come back in 2 years. That really touched me because it reminded me, ever since I came out of prison, even the first 4 times, through these times, God had given me a lot of avenues and ways to break, right? From rapping, when I was rapping, he had that avenue. I had record deals on the table, but I couldn't leave the streets alone. Every time it was time for me to get a deal, I would end up catching the case and going back to prison. He gave me chance after chance after chance, and I couldn't recognize until it took me 5 years, the 5th prison trip to do it, right? And so that just always, that reminded me, man, that you got to always count your blessings.
Yeah.
Right? You got to always respect your blessings. A lot of people disrespect their blessings, and
they don't think it's a blessing because they in prison. Like, somebody might be in prison and they might be looking down on everything. But man, you got AC. There's some people that don't got AC. There's some people that don't got these programs. There's some people that don't got nothing. But y'all sitting here complaining about y'all only got books. That's all you need.
That's all you need.
It's just like people don't look at the positive of life, and that's why they more than likely in the situation that they in.
Oh, right. Somebody's gonna be tuning in. They're gonna have family members, loved ones that's incarcerated, and they probably wondering, what did you do on the inside to help you prepare to come out and get 15 properties?
Read books. That's a simple answer. Like, when you in prison, you got a date. That's all you can think about is that date. 15 years from now, I'm going to be out of prison. 10 years from now, I'm going to be out of prison. I'm going to be on the street in 5 years. Whatever is in between those 2 ears of yours, whatever in between there, that's what you're going to do when you get out. So if you just thinking about in 5 years, I'm about to get out and go get this girl. In 5 years, I'm about to get out and go get high. In 5 years, I'm about to get out and go back to grinding. If that's what's in your head, that's exactly what you're going to do. So the people that's sitting in prison right now, the only thing that I would say to do is to put information in between those ears of yours, because that's the only thing that's going to help you. Is you can't do it because you don't know it.
Exactly. That information is valuable, because that's all I did my last prison bid. As soon as I left that federal courtroom and they sent me to that federal holdover, and I picked up that book, How to Hustle to Win, and it started showing me legitimate ways to make money, because all I knew was street dope money, you know, and I didn't know nothing about running no businesses or nothing like that. But when I read that book, it switched my mindset and taught me how to skills translate the skills that I had in hustling to translate that into something legitimate. And then from there, I just started reading book after book after book after book and taking notes. And then, like I said, like, you know my story, I built a vision board. So I knew what my life was going to look like when I walked out the prison. So a lot of guys on the inside, they got a plan, or they say they're going to do this and say they're going to do that. What's the most important thing that they might need to do once they get out?
Take action, because they got all of these visions, but they might get out and be like, I want to start let's say a lawn care business, but they don't even do the first step of going to buy the lawnmower. They trying to figure out how to start an LLC and they ain't even got the lawnmower yet. Right. You know what I mean? So taking action is the first thing you got to do. And then you got to strike while the iron's hot. You can't be sitting around thinking about what you're going to do and I'll do it tomorrow. You got to do it right now. I had $10,000 in my pocket, and my landlord was like, yeah, I got a building. I was like, here. I had to get the rest out of my brokerage account. I was like, here go $5 right now. I'm going to get the rest of it in 2 days whenever I can sell these options, and then get you the rest of it. So I took action right then, right there. And I teach real estate. The way I did it wrong. If my landlord was a shiesty person, he could have got me, because only thing we did was sign a bogus contract. It wasn't bogus, but it's just so many things that he could have did that would have put me in the gutter for real if he was a shiesty person. But looking back on it, but he wasn't, and it all turned out. I took action and made it happen. So back. I forgot. I wanted to stop you, but I never read that book you talking about, that first one. So what that book about?
How to Hustle to Win. It's about this guy named Supreme Understanding. He's a 5%er.
Okay.
You know, 5%ers are. You know, he's a 5%er. So you know they more of knowledge itself, create for self. They Islam stands for I self am Lord and Master.
Okay.
Right, and so they more about knowledge itself. So in the book was just about taking your strengths and turning them into legitimate hustles.
Okay.
How to hustle to win, and basically it's breaking down all these legitimate businesses that you can do, from hot dog stands to washing car windows on car lots with a spray bottle, to get you a power washer. Just like 100 ways to hustle to win. And so that was important to me, because I had the hustle what caught my eyes, right? Because I always consider myself a hustler. And then the win, all right? Because I just caught a fresh federal case. This is my 5th prison trip. I don't even know if I'm going to get out. I'm on this big conspiracy. But if I get out, I got to go legit, because I'm not trying to die in prison. And I know the next time I come back to prison, if I get released, they probably going to lock me up for the rest of my life. And I watch guys get old and die in prison. So Supreme Understanding, that's what that book about. But inside that book, and you know, in the back of the book, they wrote other books they used to have in there, other books. You order these books. So he had 2 other books called Knowledge Itself and Science Itself. Okay. And so I got the Knowledge Itself. And this is kind of where I start to begin to realize and start creating a mindset that I was actually better than sitting inside of a jail and prison, right?
Yeah.
And so, it started, them books was more so about really tapping into yourself and your relation with God. Your ties all the way back to a higher power, right?
Mm-hmm.
From the beginning, like from the beginning of time, like you have the attributes of a higher power. You got the attributes of God. You're not supposed to be designed to be sitting in no prison. You're supposed to be designed to tap into your creative abilities that God got you and used them for the good. Mm-hmm. So this is where I started to understand my purpose, but I also started understanding, things about the correlation between life in general, not just human beings, but life, trees, animals, understanding that every living thing is bound by cord to every other living thing. Mm-hmm. Where, and understanding that, the different spheres, right? Understanding the difference between man-made creation and God, what God has made, but also living in those laws in yourself. So one thing that really stuck out to me in that book was they was breaking down fractals. You know what fractal is? Mm-mm. So your blood vessels, see how they break off like that?
Yeah.
When you look on a leaf,
it's the
same thing,
mm-hmm.
right? When you look in other places, that plant is kind of doing the same thing.
Yeah.
So that's what the fractal is. Then it's got to talking about how your eye, when you start looking into your eye and your pupils and stuff, it kind of resembles the sun, right? Mm-hmm. So you really start to understand yourself, like self and how your ties is, and then what's your purpose. And then when you start reading and getting into it, you really understand that, your purpose on here really is for peace and harmony and number one, love, right? But also being able to tap into those abilities that we overlook. Mm-hmm. Yesterday when we was in the prison, when I was telling them about the formula for the individual human performance, right? The number one step was the inborn attributes. A lot of times when we look at the attributes that we're born with, we kind of look at the physical side, like, oh man, you look like your mama, right? Or you walk like your daddy.
Yeah.
We don't look at the attributes that God gave us,
okay,
right? The ability to reason, the ability to think, understand, build creativity. Albert Einstein said imagination is man's playground, right? Mm-hmm. Creativity. And to be able, and that's all you kind of have, right? When you're in prison, you had imagination that I'm going to get in real estate. Mm-hmm. So when you put it out there, and that's when I started learning the laws, right? Putting things out into the universe and how it really does affect. Now, you'd have told when I was on the streets, I heard that type of stuff, but you in a life, you don't believe none of that stuff, man. What do you mean, right? Mm-hmm. But then when you get in a situation where God forces you to look at yourself, to examine yourself, to examine your actions, then you start educating yourself and get more knowledge. Then you start to understand how you move in a purpose. So you understand if you move wrong, everything in life is gonna be wrong.
Yeah, that's that's powerful. I think the book that so it was Rich Dad Poor Dad first, but then the book that really made me switch the cycle was Contributions of the Nile-Valley Civilization. You read that one?
No, I haven't read that one.
Well, they all the same. I don't remember who wrote that one, but from the Browder Files, okay, all of that stuff.
All right.
So just going back to our roots in Egypt, you know what I mean? So that was right there what helped me, because if you looking at American TV, you wouldn't think that like we greater than what we is.
Right.
So by me seeing the truth and understanding that we greater than our situation, that was what helped me open up and just learn something new. But back to what you were saying about you can do anything. Like whenever you put that in your mind, like, hey, I'm gonna get into real estate. If somebody else did it, you can do it. You know, so you just got to find out how. So that my next thing is a skyscraper.
Right.
So it's crazy because I just dropped my man off in Nashville, and I took a picture outside the skyscraper, and I was telling him how I was telling you that my vision was a skyscraper, and this right here is the first step. I got to see one in person, and then at the top of the skyscraper, it tell you who owned it, right? So this particular building was the AT&T building. So I'm like, I got to do what AT&T do to be able to own something that AT&T own. So how do I create enough value in the world to be able to afford something like this? So you just work your way backwards. AT&T own it. This is what AT&T do. They provide services to millions of people. How do I provide services to millions of people? So you just work your way back, and then you start where you at. I got a book that teach real estate. That's my starting point. Now, how do I turn that into $1 trillion company? I don't know, but we're just going to take it one step at a time.
Right. But there's many different ways, when you look at it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because you got the book, right?
Yeah.
But then also you already in the real estate. So all of that combined, so you looking, okay, book, how can I push as many books that I want? Like my book, It Made the Inspiration, that was my 6th book at the time. I'm 13 books in, but that's my 6th book at the time. But I had to figure out how to not just sell one book. I got tired of just selling one book. So I started creating sponsorship packages to where I'm selling 50, 100 books, 200 books, thousands of books. But I had a purpose behind the book. So the sponsorship package will help get books inside correctional institutions. Once the books start getting inside correctional institutions, the population want me to come in.
Okay.
Right? Then when I get there, just kind of like we was yesterday, not yesterday, was it yesterday when we were sitting there eating, they kept saying, man, they loved you, I loved you. What I say, it's going to hold them over for a day or two. But I got this program where I come in and do this 3 times a week, bring the same energy, same information. They get my mentorship, and this was going to help them turn into contract. Now, people always say there's no money in reentry. There's no money in reentries, but I know people in reentry that make millions of dollars, right? But then you also got the money that you make in reentry. You also take that money and invest in more properties, right? Then, to me, I think the game, like even on my reentry consultations, people say, "What's next for you?" And I say, I'm doing the work that I'm doing now because, for one, I feel like God sent me that. I think God had me running in and out of prison just to be running in and out of prison, right?
That's powerful.
And so I say, well, this is God's plan. I'm just walking in the path of what God has opened for me. Anytime I hit a rough spot, I didn't know what to do, I just kept moving on. Every day I wake up and be consistent. That's what I always tell the guys. You got to wake up and do this day in and day out. I remember when I did my first tour, I had just quit FedEx. I didn't have no money or nothing. But God told me to do the tour. So it was the day before I started the tour, I just sit there and broke out crying because I'm about to go on this tour and I don't even know how I fund it. I end up doing 27 institutions, 8 different states. God did that. And a lot of people don't always say, man, you don't really talk about religion in my story. And I say, I don't have to. If you hear my story, you will see that was God, right? That's only God did that. God controlled that. And so what I learned was that in building these things and putting these things together, if you stay consistent with it, if you keep that vision is going to help you develop a plan. And in today's technology and in today's society, it's not hard now to go from where you at now to getting that skyscraper. Because it's now programmed into your reticular activating system. So everywhere you go, because you want a skyscraper, you're going to start noticing the skyscrapers, right? Just like when we was downtown Memphis the other day, that big old skyscraper that had my last name on it. Right? Let me go ahead and tell them, I'm coming in. Hey, I'm going to go ahead and tell them, man, yeah, man, I'm here, man. They just sent me down here from my office. What's going on, right? Just go in there. Yeah, I'm Sims, man. I see name on the building.
Uncle told me come get my office.
Yeah, Uncle told me come get my office, right? What do you do, man? Yeah, I'm in the prison development reentry side. You said I'm supposed to be coming here and started, right? That's my creative mind. Thank God gave me that to use that creativity, right? But that's the importance of I like how you said you went down there and took a picture, right? Because now you're able to see this.
Vision board.
You're able to visualize this, and just like you said, it's just working back into those steps. But what I do want to know is why real estate? Why chose real estate?
Because it just made sense. It just made sense because if you play Monopoly, which everybody played, what happens when you don't own real estate?
You're gonna bank you out.
You can't win if you don't own real estate.
You're out.
why do every rich person own real estate? It's something that they doing that we don't know about, and I'm starting to see what it is. You know what I mean?
Right.
So just making money every month, flipping if I want to. It's just like so many different options that you could take with real estate, and it's not going nowhere. Everybody gonna always need a place to live, and I provide it to them.
And it's always good to have property, right? You know, we talk, and I always tell you my goal is to get 300 acres, right? And then save 50 acres for my family. We build what we need to build on there, put some vegetation land, and then lease and sell the other. You know, kind of build my own unincorporated city, right? And one clause that I will have in my trust, because I will put it all in the trust, in an irrevocable trust, because the irrevocable clause would be we ain't selling no property.
Never.
We ain't selling no property, right? Generational wealth.
Okay.
Right? And so that's how I look. And I might not be alive to fulfill that land, but if I get to 300 acres, I'm able to teach my children, my grandchildren, and everybody those principles and those things.
Yeah.
You dig? And so property is, I mean, like you said, one thing that there's a limitation on, and people say you never run out of land. Yeah, yes you can, right? Because it ain't nothing but so much land.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's a flat Earth, if it's a circle Earth. I don't know what it is, but ain't no more land. Ain't no more land get put on this, right?
Yeah.
Well, all the land that we got is what we got, and then you're looking at 75% of the globe or whatever you want to call it is water. So you really only got number 25% land. And in the United States, everybody can buy land, right?
And the population ain't getting no little.
It ain't getting no little. I remember when I was working at FedEx, you know, I had got stuck in the country. And a farmer came down to help me get unstuck, and he was mad. He was like, yeah, man, I'm tired of this. I'm like, what you talking about? He's like, yeah, see that farm over there? He was like, China own that.
Dang, for real?
Yeah, and I'm like, what you mean China own that? He's like, yeah, China own that. And that let me know, like, dang, like, man, everybody can buy land in America. So I always wonder, why was it properties for you when you come out in real estate, you know? But it's the perfect avenue, like you said.
Yeah.
When you look at those with generational wealth, what do they have?
They got it.
And my majority of them got them skyscrapers.
Yeah.
Trump tired. I see it. They're going to be riding by. They think it's going to say Hilton. Nah, it must say it's Hinton, right?
Yeah.
Hinton tires, you know.
Yeah, but every bank got one, you know.
Right.
Every big old company got one. So they know something that we don't know. And I'm about to figure it out.
Right. So now that you're doing the prison tour and you're going back into prisons, right, would you add this side of the avenue? Would this be another branch of business for you?
Oh yeah, this was the dream.
Okay.
This was the dream. I was sitting in jail I had gotten in trouble, and I was sitting in jail like I gotta change. So I ended up writing this book, From Prison to Properties. Right. So I wrote this while I got in trouble, you know, and I wanted to teach people this stuff, right? I wanted to teach people this stuff. But I wanted to teach everybody. But then it was just like something told me like, nah, go into the jails and do this. So I was still on probation, and my PO wouldn't let me go into the jails to do this. So I'm like, dang. And this was about 3 years ago, and that's whenever me and you met.
Yeah.
So you wanted me to come with y'all, and I couldn't. So I was, distraught. And now I'm finally off probation. I recently got off probation. And I don't know how we got connected. Like, I don't know if I reached out to you or what, but you was like, I'm about to do it again. I was like, come on, let's go.
We was at the conference.
Oh, yeah. I got off probation, and I was like, I need to get inside some rooms. So I went into this room with Reentry people, met a whole lot of people. Cardell was there, and he was like, I'm about to do it again. So not only did I meet some powerful players in that room, I actually booked to come on this tour with you. And that was the goal, to get inside the prisons And it's just crazy because I was like, I'm going to be the face of real estate. I'm going to be the face of real estate, like chanting this stuff. I told one of my exes this, we get into it. She throw my book in the garbage can and stuff.
Oh, no.
Yeah, we got into it. She threw it in the garbage can, basically not believing in my dream.
Right.
So we making it happen now. So that was the goal. The goal set, goal reached. Now we just gotta. It's 6,000 prisons in America. We 3 down.
And I think that's the goal. You said it. Goal set. And I think a lot of guys in prison, they don't really understand the goal setting aspect, right? Because we know there's a lot of guys in there that got big dreams, that got aspirations. But they don't take that very important step of writing it down and making goals to accomplish that.
Yeah.
And they don't understand, like, that's the biggest key to you getting out and doing what you want to do, right? And so when I came out, my whole thing was to be in the speaking lane, to be in the programmer lane and things like that, but most definitely be in the reentry lane.
Okay.
That was my goal, because every time, like I said, guys would come in and say, man, there's no way that you're not going to come back on federal paper. Your PO's pulling up at you at the gas station, right? They following you and all this. And I made it my business to do it, walk it down, not getting any violations or nothing, and then come back in and show you how, right? And but what they fail to realize is that it starts on the inside.
Yeah.
It don't start when you come outside. Once you get outside in the free world, it's game time, right? It starts right here. So if you get everything together right now, get all of you to take the programs, put together your plan. Through your plan, you're gonna see what you need, and now you know what type of resources and stuff that you need, and people you need to surround yourself with in order to be successful and walk out of prison. But then when you get out here, you got to have the support system. You got to get the mentors and things like that. Don't get out here and think that you're going to do it on your own, because it's not going to happen. Because what happens when you hit that roadblock and then you get stuck, especially if you got substance abuse problem. Once you get stuck, now you want to run to the substance abuse. Before you know it, if you like me, one's too many, 1,000's never up, and never enough. So now you're back in the same cycle. And so, I think what guys on the inside really need to really know is that while you incarcerated, this is the time to really tap into yourself and utilize the time.
Yeah, man. Whenever you get out, man, it's too late, man.
Yeah, it's too late.
Life is going too fast. It's going way too fast for you to be like, yeah, I'm going to wait till I get out to read this book. I'm going to wait till I get out to do whatever.
Nah, that ain't gonna work.
It ain't going to happen. You got kids, you got girls, you got work, you got all this other stuff. You got to go to Walmart and do your podcast.
Right. Yeah.
You got all this other stuff going on, man. It's like, man,
you got time. And then, even then, you want to have daily goals so you can organize all that. So you don't be out here running hectic. You know what I'm saying? Trying to get here and try to get there and do that. Out of all the prisons that we hit so far this week, man, which one was your favorite?
Well, it was like, I feel like I liked the one whenever we did the breakout sessions. Okay. I like that because I told them my story, and the ones that wanted to hear more got to come hear more. You know what I mean? So I like that. You tell the story and you give them the option. Hey, if you want to learn more about it, come on. If you don't, go back to the cell. You know what I mean? Like, so that was the one. I like that format.
Okay, I got a question.
That was in Mississippi.
Mississippi. Okay. Yeah, Tallahatchie. Tallahatchie. And so, what are four steps you can give to the guys on the inside to start doing to go from prison to property?
The first step is understanding that we getting assets, not liabilities. That's chapter 1 in my book. Understanding financial intelligence, assets, liabilities. An asset is something that's gonna put money in your pocket, not something that's gonna take it out. Right. So an asset gonna be a duplex, a triplex, a fourplex. Those is assets because it is putting money in your pocket to own that. I bought a duplex where it was $1,000 a month, but my tenant paid most of the mortgage. So I had a $300 rent payment when I was coming out of prison. So if you can get your highest expense lower, that's that's the key right there. Getting your expenses lower. So step one, find assets, not liabilities. That big beautiful house on the hill that you want so bad, that's a liability. You got to go to work for the rest of your life to pay for that. We're not doing that. So that's the first step. Number two is finding the deal. How do you find a deal? A deal is not a house. You're not going on Zillow looking at this $100,000 house that they want $100,000 for.
Right.
That's not a deal. We looking for deals. A deal is $100,000 house that you could sell for $200,000. So when you getting a house for cheaper than what it's worth, that's the deal. So step one, asset. We buying an asset. Number two, we finding a deal, something that's worth more than what we paying for. Step three, signing a contract. So it's different contracts. The contract that I used was a lease option. So a lease option is I had $10,000 to give my landlord. I gave it to him and he gave me the option to buy this property at this price on this day. So to put it in perspective, I bought a $95,000 duplex. He gave me 3 years to come up with the rest of the money. I gave him 10, I owed him 85. He gave me 3 years to come up with the 85, right? How do you come up with the 85? You build your credit, you go to a job and all of this stuff. So that's the thing, getting it under contract. So I didn't have a job history, so a bank wouldn't give me a loan. So you put it under contract and then you go get the money. So that's the next step is signing a contract. So in my case, when I signed the contract, he sold it for 95, but by the time we executed on the contract, it was worth 135. So I made money by the time I executed the contract. So that's the next step. The last step is to find the money. So after you sign the contract, you might not have the money. I had $10,000. You might not have that. So how do you find the money? If it's a good enough deal, which it should be because we want an asset, that's a deal. We signed the contract. Now, if it's a good enough deal, you can find almost any investor to invest with you. So an investor is somebody that's want to make money on his money. So if you find a $150,000 house that somebody want $100,000 for, that's a deal. Go to this guy that got all this money and be like, hey, just give me $10,000. You can have a contract. That's how you find the money. When you don't have money, you get creative. Another way, use a credit card. Use friends and family. Go, if you got credit, go get a loan from the bank, whatever it is. People think that finding the money is the first step, but that's actually the last step, because if you got $100,000 in your pocket, you might not be able to find a good deal. That's a good house, right? It's houses on every corner. That's right. For sale, but they not always deals. So the money is the last step. Finding the deal, understanding what's an asset, those is the first steps. So that's the 4 steps I got for them.
Oh, okay. Well, man, this is another episode of the Reentry Journey podcast. We just wanted to highlight the tour that we on. We actually wanted to shoot in this new creative studios in Walmart, man. We want to give a shout out to them, man, for even creating this, man. To me, this is one of the dopest things I've seen. This got to be the dopest thing I've seen this year. It's gonna be too hard to top that. We also want to give a shout out to Full Sail, right? Down in Orlando, Florida. This is where you can go and get all the training, man, to come out. And if you're smart, you should go take it, because the future is based on creation. Content creation is the future. If you got children, you should get them in that. If you old, you should get in it. If you my age, you should get in it, because this is the new wave. This is the future. This is going to happen, and this is going to go from there with AI, VR, and all this stuff. So shout out to Full Sail. Shout out to Creative. Shout out to Walmart. Man, we really appreciate this, what y'all got going on, man. This is lovely. Give a shout out to Donald for coming in and being on the tour with me, man, and changing his life and going in and making an impact. Man, we really appreciate it. Without any further ado, you know my message, man. Don't let the limitations of the background reduce the height of your potential. Outgrow what you were born into.